Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. Today we're talking Week 13 Mailbag. We got a couple questions from people that are still in it for this year, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the injuries that have happened this year. Does it change your draft strategy for next year? Just because we've had McCaffrey's down, Cook's down, Henry's down, all that kind of stuff keeps happening. So notice my background, Jeff?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I think that's Aiden Hutchinson right there. Let me see if I can get my hand. I can't. Good win. That's for sure. It was a fun weekend. I nearly killed the fantasy league. It was good. Good times. John, if you're listening, screw you, man. Screw you. Hope you're listening. Hope you are, man. But I don't hate you. Don't worry. All right. Questions. Jeff asked, is Najee Harris still a reliable RB1 for the playoffs? Pretty poor week this past week. Steelers were just bad against the Bengals. It was not pretty at all. The funny thing is we just, a couple of weeks ago talked about Najee being one of the most reliable, we thought, right? He had been just solid completely every week. And then what he puts up, let me see if I can get some numbers here. 3.7 in standard this past week, but still, that is still only the first non-double digit game he's had in standard since week 1. So are you worried? You still count on him? He has Baltimore next week, then Minnesota, Tennessee, Kansas City. How are you feeling?
I feel my opinion on Najee has not changed one bit. Everyone has a down game. That happened to be his. I still feel very confident putting him in the lineup, especially with all of the injuries going around. I think that he's going to be solid. We know that he's not usually the guy that has these huge games. I think he'll return to form and he'll get double digits for you, and you're going to feel really good about it. I don't think nothing has changed in my mind. How about you?
I'm the same. Like it's going to take more than one bad week to change my mind on it, especially like you said, there's so many running backs down. Najee's obviously he's a plugged in player in your lineup. And if he doesn't do it next week, you worry a little bit, but there's no scenario where you're not playing Najee Harris. I mean, he'd have to be injured. There's no scenario where a healthy Najee Harris isn't in your lineup the rest of the season. It doesn't honestly matter. There's not enough games that he could be bad in for you not to start him in the playoffs. You're going to start him. The game just went, it wasn't his fault. The game got out of hand and they had to try to throw the ball to do anything. That's why Deontay Johnson led the NFL in targets last week, because they just had to throw the ball around, and that's what happened. So there's that. Kasprowski asked, Mike Gesicki or Logan Thomas this week? Gesicki is playing against the New York Giants. Logan Thomas going to be playing against the Raiders. Gesicki hasn't really necessarily been playing that great lately. Logan Thomas is just coming back. He almost caught a touchdown. It was overturned at the end of the game last night. What are you thinking there? Gesicki home against the Giants, Thomas on the road against the Raiders. It's kind of close.
It is very close. Tell you the truth, I'm leaning towards Logan Thomas.
It's just because Gesicki hasn't done a lot lately?
It's this stretch of, and here's the thing that I really worry about is the usage, the targets haven't really gone down. He just hasn't been able to get anything with it, whether or not that be, the type of plays that he's getting thrown at, whether it's his fault or not, it's kind of, erroneous to me. He just hasn't been getting it done. Mm-hmm. I think that Logan Thomas has more upside. Las Vegas is not particularly good against the tight end. That doesn't always play out. It's such a crap show with tight ends anyway. So I don't know, matchups are really the thing to look at, but I liked what I saw from him in his first week. He has a week under his belt. He looked healthy, and look, I don't know, Gesicki just hasn't been getting it done. I think, 50 yards would be the top. I think Logan Thomas has much more upside, and his low side isn't, it's not like zero. Like his low side is probably what he just did, which was like 30 yards and an almost touchdown. Yeah. I don't know. I would take the upside with Logan Thomas.
No, I'm with you. I think Gesicki's had in standard scoring, he's had 5 straight weeks of single digit points of 6.8, 5.4, 0, 5, and 1.7. It's been pretty poor. Just you kind of know what you're getting. Maybe he gets a touchdown, it helps you, but you don't. I'd rather take the shot on the guy I don't exactly know what he's going to do yet. I'd go Logan Thomas.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I can't get over the week 10 either.
7 targets, no.
Yeah, and had no catches. It really bothers me. I don't know. That whole thing is just it's starting to get weird over there in Miami.
It is. All right, Brother Coffee Bean. Final questions we got actually before we'll talk about some other stuff. Brother Coffee Bean, couple questions for him. First off, what is the status of DeAndre Swift? Can I start him or not? He says I also have Aaron Jones on bye, so I would need to play Swift because Alex Collins doesn't do much for me. Sorry, man, you're gonna have to play Alex Collins. It does not look promising for DeAndre Swift. I'm certain they're going to hold him out, and it's going to be the Jamal Williams show this week. I just don't see a scenario where Swift plays. I can't see it. They don't need. Why would they? It's the Lions. They're terrible. They're not good. Why would you? What is the point to rush back your star running back, your star young running back, to get hurt again? You just don't need to do it. Rest him. Jamal Williams is perfectly capable back for the Lions, at least. So you're going to be stuck with Alex Collins. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't heard anything good either. And I don't know. You hope for one Collins touchdown. That's what you're hoping for.
Yep. He also said, what is the status of Kadarius Toney returning? And, I have not really heard any updated news. Stay tuned for that. Keep watching different stuff because he was end up being out this past week, which was disappointing. Jeff. Yeah. Jeff,
it started a whole thing in our league.
It did. Jeff didn't play a full lineup. Come on, man.
It was a wildfire. It's Thanksgiving. I did not see that he was doubtful until too late.
And you still beat me.
And I beat you. Thank God. The villagers were grabbing their pitchforks. They were coming for me. It would have been really, really bad.
Jeff, you're not supposed to enjoy Thanksgiving and forget about a fantasy game.
It was so funny too. Not to go into this, I know you guys don't care, but it was like immediately after that, Craig texted me and he was like, "Did you see that? I saw it 15 minutes before." And I was like, "What the?" I was like, "No." But yeah, that's the joy of holidays and trying to do everything at once. But I haven't heard anything either.
No, I just quick glanced real quick, see if I could spot any quick news, and nothing I've seen yet. So I don't know what that means.
The way they talked about him last week, I would lean towards he's going to be a questionable designation and he'll end up playing probably. I don't know that for sure. Truly, that would be my guess just with what they were saying and how he was such a late, them downgrading him to doubtful and then taking him out of the game. And they needed to because they were hurting as far as wide receivers. So if he can play, I think they'll put him in there. But I don't know how much you're going to get out of him, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I'm
not sure if it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I expect him. I feel like he'll be a questionable tag all week and probably play. That's kind of my guess, but we'll see. Then also some quarterback questions. He says, "What should I do about Andy Dalton as far as starting him if Fields is out?" So basically, he's asking, "Do I play Teddy Bridgewater or do I play Andy Dalton?"
Oh.
If let's say if
so was it well, Bridgewater is going against KC. That seems like
it's been harder lately for sure.
It has. I mean, still all right. He's going to get. I have such a hard time trusting Chicago at all.
This is like an absolute toss up. Dalton against the Cardinals. Cardinals have been been decent. Bridgewater.
Yeah, I would still go Teddy Bridgewater.
I
have so little confidence in Chicago, and Mooney's been playing really, really well. And he had enough, he played Detroit. If you're going to beat up on someone, Detroit is the team to do it. He had 317 yards, but only 1 touchdown. I think Bridgewater has a higher ceiling. I don't know. I would go with that. It's a tough one, but I would personally go with Bridgewater.
One of his other questions here is because he actually had Daniel Jones, who is now hurt as well. He said, if Bridgewater has to be his QB1 for the rest of the year, is he a trustworthy option?
No,
it's not a great option. You don't love it at all.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if he was my backup.
Yeah, right? It's just you don't know what you're
never going to win a title with Bridgewater because you're never going to get enough points out of him. Eventually your QB is going to have to score a decent amount of points. It's just the way it works. Usually playing the best teams in playoffs. If he's the guy that has to bring it there, I hope you have a lot of the other big time names. I hope you have Jonathan Taylor. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
One final question, talking about some keepers, actually. So he has 2 keepers for sure. He says for next year, he's going to be Jamar Chase and Michael Thomas. We'll see. Michael Thomas missed a full year here. We'll see. He could pick one of these other guys: DK Metcalf, Julio Jones, Kadarius Toney. So it's not Julio.
But, I mean, it's DK. You have to think.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. It's DK, it's Jamar, it's Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
I think I still go
Tony is very
Thomas
interesting,
over.
but but you still want to see more than that. You know, he had a streak of 3 games where even though he only put up real points in one of them, he looked really promising in 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But you still have to figure out what New York is doing, and I would love to see him get back healthy. Right now, you're trying to, when you're looking at keepers, you want to make sure you're getting value, right? So more than, I don't know what his is, whether or not it's all right, you have to take him in the first 3 rounds, or if you have to take it, whatever, a round ahead of where you had him last year, it keeps moving up, or if it's money, that's the other thing to be looking at, or everyone keeps 3 no matter what. And then that one is pretty simple. You would definitely keep DK in that situation, but it's probably going to be him no matter what. You got to go for the value.
So around this, I just want to talk quick about some injuries and drafting for next year, because this has been a little scary in a way of injuries. Derrick Henry's out, McCaffrey's out, Dalvin Cook's now out for a bit. And Dalvin Cook, he's banged up a lot. Alvin Kamara's been out. Aaron Jones was hurt a bit there. He's back, but he didn't really actually do much because he was hurt. Is it such a great idea anymore? It makes me nervous about, like, in auction leagues, especially, spending big money on big time name running backs, because you are not getting your money's worth this year. I mean, I guess the problem is you were with Derrick Henry, like when he was healthy, but now everyone's hurt.
Yeah.
Is this changing your mind at all?
Well, I mean, I'll say this, at the top end of it does. If you're going to blow your entire budget on one guy, like Derrick Henry, right? He was well worth the money when he's healthy. If you blew half your budget on him, you could still put together a championship team. But in saying that, even if someone like Kamara that has had a solid season, but now you're missing him down the stretch when you need him, he's lived up to expectations. He's not out for the year, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even that scares the crap on me. As I say that, like, the question would be, how do you fill out a team otherwise, right? You could take a shot at a bunch of middle guys, which if you did this year,
would have worked this year. Let's say if you got like Joe Mixon.
I don't know if Mixon is necessarily a middle guy. Like when you're saying like bottom of the top 10, and it's hard to say because you would have had to go. What round is that? How much money?
Yeah, you go get Mixon and you would have paired him. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of luck, because what do? You get Mixon, I don't even know who the other guy is. You got Leonard Fournette a little later. You could easily like piece that together. In a snake draft, you could have definitely done like an Eckler Mixon turn there at the turn, and got those 2 backs and been looking great. Possibly even Jonathan Taylor, he could have fell towards the end of the first, but I don't know. It's making me nervous, but it's not like you can go and say, all right, running backs are all getting hurt, right? Even Saquon, we even talked about Saquon. Saquon was hurt too. Yeah. Would you go and say, oh, okay, wide receivers, I just know they're going to dominate? When Devontae Adams, he would have been the top guy. He's had games, but he's not been. That.
Hopkins would be another one. I have to pull up the list, but yeah, it was kind of funny because we're already, we're nearing the end of the season, and already your brain is like rewiring to being like, no, these are the guys now.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the top 5, Devontae Adams is, he barely made the top 5. He's number 5 right now, but the other guys, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuels, Tyreek Hill, which we assumed, Justin Jefferson, people were making, where's he going to land in the top 10? But you could have easily gone down. And if you just take a bunch of the budget guys, like you don't go for any of the top ones, like there's a lot of guys we talked about in here, right? I mean, we're talking about how Thielen's number 8. He was highly underrated. We knew this. He's going to catch touchdowns. All right, great. But even like CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, McLaurin.
That guy's a disappointment.
Keenan Allen, you can keep going down, and there's going to be guys lower and lower. Hopkins has been hugely. Amari Cooper is like 30th.
Yeah.
AJ Brown has been a very big disappointment. Now he's on the IR, but even when he was healthy, he battled with it back and forth. I think this year it changed the game. 2 reasons. First of all, you can have the 3-game IR. You have a longer season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it I don't know if preparation changed or what from, the COVID year. I'm not exactly sure, but it does feel like a lot of injuries are happening to these top guys that were relatively bulletproof before. Or is it because we haven't seen the young crew come in a while? Like Devontae Adams has been around for a while. Like Evans, Thielen, Stephon Diggs, even though he's been in Buffalo only a couple of years, he's been around for quite a while. What do you attribute to that?
I think fantasy football is just a crapshoot. We don't know. I'm thinking about this. Like, what's the strategy you got to come up with? Man, it is like, did you see Cooper Kupp coming up like this? Even Cooper Kupp slowed down though, to be honest.
He did.
Man,
I guess
this is tough. I'm just trying to we're going to have some time to think about this and look at this as we go in the offseason, really see if there's some pattern here that we're missing. Oh man, guys, I don't know how much risk you want anymore. Adam Thielen wasn't a risk, right? He was a good value and you got him later. Do I just go for those guys and try to minimize my risk? I don't know. It's all over the board. Here's like the DK Metcalfs, the Mike Evans, they go awesome games and then they just suck for you. Like Amari Cooper's that guy. I hate that player. And I have him. I have a few of those guys.
Well,
why do I have
that guy too, though?
Tyreek's that guy too.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs hasn't even been as consistent as I would have liked. There hasn't. No. Cooper Kupp was. Justin Jefferson has kind of been that guy a little more than others. Jamar Chase has been good, and then he sucked in game. There isn't that guy at wide receiver. At running back, it was Derrick Henry. You could rely on Derrick Henry. And I don't know and now Jonathan Taylor, for the most part, it's just not, that guy doesn't seem to exist. Football's weird, man.
Yeah. And with the injuries for the bell cow type running backs, that is the difference. Like you said, Derrick Henry going down, Cook going down, McCaffrey going down. And I'm missing one too, but those guys were the ones that got all of the carries. The only other one now is going to be Najee Harris, not quite as dynamic as everyone, but going to get every carry possible. But he's a young guy still. He's the first year in the league. His body can take it a little more. And here's the thing. There's two different sides to this, because it probably doesn't affect you if you're playing just snake draft. It probably doesn't affect how you're going to be drafting, right?
True.
Because value is value, and you're
at where you're at
between two guys, you're going to take them, right? Does it play into your head that you're going to shy away from more injury prone players? I know that it always shy away a little bit, but now with Dalvin Cook, Saquon, and Henry, do they get bumped down at all for someone that is a little more durable? Is Chubb up there with them now because of that, or no?
Yeah, Chubb, he seems more durable. I honestly am really going to shy away from, I love Dalvin Cook, but the guy does seem to get hurt. Christian McCaffrey McCaffrey, man,
last 2 years,
it's been some injuries, really, and maybe you get him at a value next year and you're like, oh wow, I was an idiot. Why didn't I draft McCaffrey at running back 6 or something if he falls, who knows? But that always can happen.
Is Henry going to have a play cap now? Is he going to have, you're only going to get 18 rushes out of the guy tops because they don't want to do this to him again? I don't know. I truly don't know. I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see how this plays. I'll say in auction, it is making me lean towards thinking of more of a strategy instead of spending all this money on McCaffrey or Cook this year or whatever. Is maybe I could cut that money in half and maybe I can get a mix in and a Najee Harris, or in that level of where the players were that 8 to 14 range, right? You could have got 2 of those guys, or you get one of those top guys, and maybe you get 2 of those guys in that range, and your chances are better of one of them breaking out. You know, and that's maybe where more I'm leaning.
Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to auction, which I do think is the way to go. I do wonder if that is automatically going to happen because of all the injuries and everything that has occurred this year. I wonder if the top all of a sudden gets brought down, and then the top 5-6 guys are actually, affordable, but they're all going to be around the same price.
Next year's going to be interesting.
And then it gets closer and closer because Mixon had the same thing, right? He was on a bad team, or he got banged up, and people were down on him. This year, he looks like a safe bet. Does he jump back up? So I think that if you almost talk about economics, but I do think the market is kind of shifting anyway. And by the time we get what they're worth, their value come next year, I do think Henry might be the only one that I'm wrong about because he was so freaking good. And even missing all these games recently, he's still like ranked the 4th best in standard, which is crazy. He might be the only one that they're just like, he's worth all the money still. But I don't think McCaffrey will. I don't think Cook will.
I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be number 1 on draft boards now next year. And
that's a good point.
He'll probably be number 1 and go the most. But after that, everybody's a question mark.
Even Joe Mixon spend. Yeah, but can you imagine spending, like, we've seen people spend like $80 out of like a $200 budget on a player. Can you imagine spending $80 on Taylor or Mixon?
No, see, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
No, I couldn't do it for that.
I'm going to go mid-tier. And call it good and just hope I get it. Hopefully somebody breaks out. Get a couple of those guys, sprinkle in, like this year it would have been the Damian Harris, Leonard Fournette. Harris got hurt too, so whatever. Fournette, like you sprinkle, you get that kind of range. Like
and then immediately too, we haven't talked about them in a while, but it cracked me up. Now I'll be able to get them for like a dynamite price. But Etienne and Dobbins both got hurt before the year even began. And it's kind of funny because it did make James Robinson relevant, but it opened up a ton of space on Baltimore and they didn't do anything with it.
Nothing. God. Dobbins would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
I'm never gonna say what he would have been.
We're not gonna be wrong.
Well, I could see, and there's like other situations where like I can see Tony Pollard overtaking Zeke in a way. He's slowly like getting more and more and more work.
Well, I could see them getting rid of Zeke and not. He's a wonderful player, but I joked about this.
He's not as good as he was, though. He's not.
No,
he's not.
I joked that it was a conspiracy theory that Pollard, like they were going to trade Zeke and Pollard was going to be their guy. And tell you the truth, that still makes sense. Like. But their defense has played so much better than I thought they were going to. Not perfect, but way better than they were a year ago. Who would you be trading for? So,
and there's some guys like I feel like a Javonte Williams next year. He's going to be a really interesting guy. Which there's players like that they're going to watch out for. The Javonte Williams, the second year backs, kind of thing.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with San Fran's backfield too. Is Elijah Mitchell gonna stick around? Do they keep getting injured? What is going on there too?
God, and Sermon just got hurt. Yeah, too.
We did have one more question actually.
Okay. All right.
There was
end us off.
Yeah, YouTube question from Yakov. And this is perfect for you. We're talking about defenses. What defense will be best come fantasy playoff time? Weeks 14 through 18. Thank you.
All right, let me pull up some schedules here. Let me see what I got. 14. No, never mind. I can't talk. Jeff, no one's going to listen to this, right? From our league.
No, probably not.
You're out of it. You're not going to pick them up.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick them up.
Week 14, Denver Broncos play against the Lions.
Okay, so you go back to the Lions thing. Sure,
week 13, if you go back to this week, Vikings against the Lions. But week 14, Broncos. Hopefully no one from our league's listening. I'm putting an early claim in for that, just in case I have to
name off every team that's about to play the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to pull this up here.
Yeah.
So week 14. So I've been looking heavily at week 14, to be honest, because I have been looking at that because I might have to be playing a play-in game for the playoffs in week 14. So I've been looking at week 14, trying to figure out, all right, what are some possible available defenses? The Broncos playing the Lions. That's one of the better options for week 14. Green Bay playing against Chicago. I like that.
I actually like them not only for that one for Chicago, but I mean, they go Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland.
It's not bad. Like if you're streaming,
and then Detroit again. So if you're actually playing 14 to 18, they're very, very useful.
Like, because if you have to go one, that's better because the Broncos would go Detroit, but then they play Cincinnati, who can put up points at times. And if you can only go one of these and you're not mixing and matching, that's where you'd probably go more likely to the Packers. Like week 14, if you have to go further down, you could go with the Chargers against the Giants. That could be okay. Week 15, 49ers, if they're out there playing against Atlanta, but then they play week 16, they play Tennessee, and Tennessee's been pretty poor. So if you could mix and go like, a week 14 Broncos with a week 15 and 16 49ers, that's not a bad play, playing against Atlanta and playing against Tennessee. You could do that one. There's not as many good options for week 15.
Can we actually, the one that, and this could be a little up in the air, but at least for 15, the Dolphins, they're owning
Dolphins in general. Yeah. Dolphins in general
they've been playing really well.
Yes, they have. They've been playing very strong. I missed the Dolphins. Let me pull up the Dolphins here.
But they play New York Jets on the 15th. They have a bye the 14th, so that hurts. But 15th, they were New York Jets, and then New Orleans, which who's scared of them right now, especially if Kamara's not playing. And then you play Tennessee, which is who knows which version you're going to get. So they're a strong contender too. And in the last 4 weeks, they went 17 points, 18, 5, and 23. Like they've been playing out of their mind against bad teams, but they're taking advantage of it. So especially in week 15, I really, really like them.
Yep. No, that's a good one too. So those are a couple of the plays I guess you could go with. Lions play Denver, Arizona, Atlanta. I'm probably not rolling with Atlanta no matter what. And Arizona's already picked up. So I think you only got 1 week there to play around with it. You probably like Jacksonville. Okay. Jacksonville has the best schedule, to be honest. But could anybody do it?
No.
They've been terrible. Their schedule, though, is Tennessee. This is week 14, 15, 16. Tennessee, Houston, Jets.
No, I still can't do it, man.
That's an awesome schedule.
If I were to tell you this team put up 17 points standard scoring against Buffalo, you'd be like, oh my God, get them. And I'd be like, the next largest would be 8, and then it drops down to 2.
I know, that's a great schedule. Then Titans, I don't know. They play Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, 14 and 15.
Dude, I truly can't figure this team out. They were riding so high, and then
they have no players left.
Terrible. And it was against 2 offenses that should not take advantage of you. Against Houston and New England, and they made them look dumb. I do not understand it.
Yep. All right, there we go. There's some week 13 next year, 2022 talk. I like talking about drafts. I don't know. That's my thing. That's fun. Well, I'm going to come up with a perfect strategy for next year, Jeff. I'm dominating all our leagues. I'm going to come up with a strategy that somehow screws over John. Don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to make a trade with him. I'm going to actually be like all cool with him. We're going to do a trade right at the deadline. I'm like, send it over, man. I'll click it. We're doing this thing. And I'll just let it linger and linger. Oh, deadline passed, man. I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, obviously you've not tried to make a deal with him lately because he is the worst.
Love John. Great. That's what I'll do. That's too obvious, right? He won't trade with me.
Yeah, he's not going to trust.
If you have any suggestions on how I can screw over a fantasy opponent of mine, legally, not necessarily that I'm playing against, but just in general, a person in your fantasy league, but within the rules of the league, and not that'll get me in trouble with the law, let me know.
Actually, I know that if you're listening this late into the year, you're into the playoffs anyway. And I do wonder, do you want to lay it out? No, what he did. I don't like talking about it. I'm not talking about it. I'm not over it yet.
We'll talk about it another day.
Yeah, no, that'd be another episode.
Would you ever sit your best players to try to have yourself lose to get another person out of the playoffs? Essentially, I'll just tell it straight up. He played Nyheim Hines over Jonathan Taylor. What's going on?
Technically, not against the rules.
In our league,
not against the rules. It depends. I don't think we ever thought about it, to be honest.
No one usually does it.
And it is.
How do people feel about that? If you're listening, how do you feel about that? Is
it kind of like, hey, it's legal, but shitty?
Or is Nyheim Hines over Jonathan Taylor just too egregious?
Or is it incredibly savvy in saying you use all the tools available to you in order to try to get your best matchup?
That's what John would say.
Yeah, that's what John would say.
That's what John would say.
So,
all right, there we go. Let me know what you think. That'll do it for today, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.